but it's a proper length of rope, and this movie ties it to him and tells him, chuck this rock, rock. There's a new word for you. Legends, we're going to get into a little review here of another Laurel and Hardy film. This is a short film from 1928, directed by Frank Butler and of course produced by Hal Roach, and it is Flying Elephants. I historically am not a huge fan of the silent movies of Laurel and Hardy. I prefer their feature lengths, their sound movies, always in black and white, by the way. Not a fan of the colorized versions of these movies. I think they're at their best in the black and white format. But this movie here, I enjoyed this so much more than I was expecting. Of course, it stars Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, James Finlayson is in there, of course, legend, turns up in most of their movies. Edna Marion, Dorothy Coburn, Viola Richard, Faye Lamphere, Bud Fine, Tiny Sanford, and Leo Willis is in there as well. Basically, the plot of the movie is it takes place in the Stone Age, where the king of the cave people declares that all males between 13 and 99 years of age must find a female mate or face banishment or death or both. Hardy starts looking for a wife, and in the scene it says anyone's wife will do. Stan and Ollie are battling cavemen. Basically, in this movie, everybody's looking for a wife. There's women all over the desert landscape, and men are coming and they're lifting women and taking them away. Cavemen are battling each other. Stanley turns up, and he's a little bit of I think they go into a little bit of territory where, is Stanley's character actually straight or gay in this movie? Doesn't define that there, but there is a joke in there where there's a guy, his job is, this declaration from the king of the cave people is printed on a rock, and it's this guy's job to, tell all the men, all the cavemen that are passing by, read this. The king says you have to do this here, or you're going to be banished or killed or both, whatever. Stanley turns up on a ridge above, and this guy shouts up, and he looks, all men have to marry. And Stanley is quite camp in this movie, and it's just a little joke. It doesn't really pay off, but just in that moment you're kind of like, Stanley is like, does this guy want to marry me, sort of a thing. Very well done. Tastefully dealt with joke for its day. Stanley comes down, meets James Finlayson and his daughter. Finlayson is, getting ravaged by a toothache in this movie, and his daughter at one point decides, okay, we'll tie a rope. Obviously that's the old trick of tying a rope to the tooth and tying it to a stone or something and dropping it, and then that should pull the tooth out. But it's a proper length of rope, and this movie ties it to him and tells him, chuck this rock. There's a new word for you. Through this rock off the top of the mountain, it'll pull your tooth out. Of course, Finlayson can't lift the rock, and of course Oliver comes along, helps him out by chucking the rock down, and you see Finlayson coming off the top of the cliff like Superman, following this rock down. But it does get his tooth out, and he brings Oliver back to meet the daughter as well, and that puts Stan and Ollie at each other's throats for the remainder of this movie. There is a few bits in this movie I absolutely wet myself at Oliver throughout the early parts of the film. He's trying his luck with different women, but they're already matched off to men. And every time he tries to talk to a woman, there's another caveman hits him over the head with a club, and he decides to leave until one woman shows genuine interest in him, and Oliver is like, go away, leave me alone. Every time I try to talk to a woman, I get hit. And she gives him the eyes, and he decides he's going to turn and talk to her. And this mountain goat appears out of nowhere behind Oliver and takes a mad running dive, and digs his horns into Oliver's backside. It was so funny. The way that sequence was just filmed, it was good. That was so good. That happens again later on in the movie, where Stanley decides at the direction of James Finlayson and a way of getting rid of Oliver, and he takes him up to the top of a mountain. Finlayson's daughter has disappeared, and Stanley's like, I'll show you where she is at. Takes him up to the top of this mountain, and points over the edge. She's down there, and while Oliver's looking, Stanley tries to give him a push off the top of the cliff, but he covers his eyes when he does it. He doesn't have the nerve to hurt him, and it's like, it was either I had to do it, it was his life or mine, sort of a thing. And then he opens his eyes and he looks, and Oliver's still there, and the pair of them are about to fight once more. And just as Oliver turns his back to swing his club at Stanley, this mountain goat turns up again and takes another mad run, dive at him, headbutts him in the back and sends him over the edge of the cliff. Of course, Stanley gets down, meets up with the woman. It's going to be a nice happy ending, sort of a thing, but they eventually trip over a bear, and it runs, chases and tries to attack him. At the end of the movie, they try to escape on like a cart that Finlayson and the daughter turned up on, and when they try to move the cart away, it basically falls apart, goes over the top of them. They get trapped inside it, and as they lift it to try and get out, the bear jumps in below the cart and attacks them. That's where the movie finishes off. Now, the title Flying Elephants is very misleading whenever you see the content of this movie. It has got next to near nothing to do with elephants, or indeed flying elephants, apart from one part where, I think somebody just came up with, it's one of these movies you kind of think to yourself, okay, this was only made because someone wanted to try out a visual effect. And Stanley has one line within this movie. I'm not even sure of the runtime. Let me just check. 17 minutes runtime for this silent short. And when Stanley appears and he's talking to this girl, spring's here, it's lovely weather, sort of thing. The elephants are flying south, and in the background, there's a shot of the mountainside, and there's these 3 elephants with wings flying across the sky, and that is the only reference to flying elephants in this 17-minute short film. It's like a 7-second sequence, including the line and the shot of the 3 flying elephants. So, that's quite a weird one, because to call the film Flying Elephants and it just references that one line. But, in saying that, the movie is actually so well done for the time it was made, and I enjoyed the absolute life out of this. There's a lot of slapstick moments in there that... there's a brilliant sequence in it where Stanley tells Finlayson that he's good at, shooting fish. Finlayson asks, how are you going to support my daughter? And, I can catch fish. I can spear fish, and he's got like a bow and arrow, which the guy shoots fish. And Finlayson sends him off to, go and shoot a whale, sort of a thing. So Stanley goes to the river, and he gets in there, and he's trying to, first of all, he's trying to spear fish, and then he gets in, and he actually catches 2 fish by, plucking flies out of the air setting them on the top of the water, and then whenever the fish jump out of the water to get the fly, he clubs them with his club. And that's the simple stupid wee things I got in this film that are actually flipping brilliant. But there's a heck of a lot in there I did not cover. This is indeed one that is well worth checking out. If like myself, you're not the biggest fan of the silent short films, definitely by no means write any of them off. It would be quite easy for me to just lift the cover of the DVD and see, okay, we've got 3 movies in this here. There's one silent movie in it. I'll just, I'll pass on that there. It's very easy to do that, and in this case, I'm really, really glad that I didn't, because this movie was highly entertaining. Really enjoyed it, and it's definitely one that I will come back to check the next time I'm going through the box set.